Welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're joining us today because honestly, we're going to decode a workplace mystery that practically every young professional, fresh graduate, or entry-level worker has pondered at some point. We are pulling back the curtain to uncover what managers actually do all day. I mean, if you're early in your career, you might look at your manager and think their job looks, well, kind of mysterious, right? They aren't writing the code, they aren't drafting the final reports, and they definitely aren't making those raw, grueling sales calls. So what exactly is happening behind that desk? Today, using some truly brilliant insights from Sandeep Nair's deep dive into leadership transitions, we are going to completely reframe the manager role. We'll map out this entire journey from being an entry-level executive to a team enabler, and as you'll see, we'll discover how this whole process is really just one continuous cycle of mentorship.
But to kick things off, let's just address the elephant in the room. You've heard it. Managers don't do much beyond forwarding emails, drinking coffee, and asking for updates. It's a classic stand-up joke. And let's be totally honest with ourselves. It's a popular stereotype for a very good reason. From the outside looking in, it's incredibly relatable and, frankly, pretty funny. When you are the one putting in those grueling hours, grinding out the daily deliverables and sweating over every tiny detail, it really can feel like your manager just swoops in out of nowhere to ask for a status update before taking another sip of their latte. For an entry-level worker, that perspective feels so validating. But here's the thing about stereotypes. They might get a laugh, but they're almost always totally incomplete.
So let's contrast that whole comedy routine, the coffee and the forwarded emails, with the hidden reality of the workplace. Because the truth is, behind every single manager is a former entry-level executive who once worked with the exact same intensity that you are working with right now. Literally, they faced the exact same pressures, they stressed over the exact same deadlines. In fact, a lot of today's managers actually earned their current roles because they were the ones who made incredibly difficult key performance indicators, those tough KPIs, look entirely achievable. They put in the consistent effort and they pushed performance standards way higher. So when you look at your boss, you aren't looking at someone who magically skipped the hard work. Actually, scratch that. You are looking at someone who crushed those tough metrics so consistently that they literally set the benchmark that everyone else is now following.
Okay, so if they aren't just drinking coffee all day, what on earth are they doing? Well, they're managing what we call the invisible workload. Those comedians joking that managers don't work completely miss the fact that managerial work just looks fundamentally different. It happens quietly, it happens in the background. So what exactly is this invisible workload? Well, handling escalations means that when a major client is absolutely furious about a missed deadline, your manager takes that angry phone call. They absorb all that heat so you can just focus on fixing the code without panicking. Navigating stakeholder expectations. That means they are playing a complex game of 3D chess with upper management just to make sure your team's goals are actually realistic in the first place. They're providing direction, they're building a stable environment, and they're making really tough decisions to protect the team, often when literally no one is even watching. None of this critical work shows up on a standard performance dashboard, right? It's not on a daily task tracker. It's so incredibly easy to overlook, yet this invisible workload is the very foundation that shapes your entire team's success.
And taking on this hidden background work? It requires what is arguably the most difficult transition a professional can ever make, moving from being a star performer to a team enabler. This is the first real, fundamental shift in leadership. Think about it. When you're a star performer, your entire world revolves around individual KPIs. You are completely activity-driven. But as a manager, busyness is no longer the same as productivity. Activity is absolutely not the same as achievement. The manager's role shifts entirely to creating systemic value. They become a bridge, not a barrier. Their job is now to bridge the gaps in the team's capabilities, to enable opportunities, and to coach members. It is a massive psychological shift from saying, hey, look at what I achieved today, to look at what I enabled my team to achieve today.
Because of this massive shift, managers are frequently so misunderstood. For fresh graduates and young professionals, managers can sometimes come across as overly demanding, almost like the professional villains in the story of your early career. But I want you to try something. Instead of seeing a villain, think of them as your first mentor. They are a leader who recognizes your potential, challenges your comfort zones, and pushes you specifically to prepare you for growth. This is exactly how we need to reframe the manager. They aren't the bad guys. They are often the very first real mentors you're ever going to encounter. And those incredibly high expectations they have, those come entirely from their own experience. Their guidance is completely shaped by the very same journey they walked when they were sitting in your chair. They're looking right at you and seeing exactly who they used to be.
So here is the absolutely crucial takeaway I want you to remember from this. They aren't pressuring you, they are preparing you. When a manager today expects excellence, when they challenge the usual performance norms, or when they push you to stretch way beyond your comfort zone, it is absolutely not about imposing pressure just for the fun of it. It's about actively searching for the next person who can take today's incredibly tough metrics and turn them into tomorrow's brand new standard. They are taking your everyday, routine tasks and transforming them into massive developmental opportunities. They push you because they know for a fact that growth only happens outside of your comfort zone. They're preparing you to eventually sit in their chair.
And as they prepare you, you're going to learn a vital lesson straight from Sandeep Nair's insights. Trust is built through consistency, not friendliness. So many first-time workers, and honestly, even a lot of first-time managers, assume that leadership is all about being everyone's best friend. But true leadership, it's proven in everyday interactions and really tough decisions. Managers have to navigate sensitive situations, maintain discipline, and hold people accountable without crossing that boundary from empathy into misplaced sympathy. They are building a stable foundation for the entire team. So if your manager seems hyper-focused on process and consistency rather than just being your buddy, recognize that this is a deliberate leadership choice. It's designed to protect the team's overall performance and build deep, lasting trust.
Let's pull back for a second and look at the big picture here. Because this entire process, it's a continuous repeating cycle. Step 1, it starts when an executive works hard, hits those tough KPIs, and sets a whole new standard. Step 2, because of that excellence, they get promoted to a manager. Step 3, in their new role as a team enabler, they push the next generation, yep, that's you, to raise the bar even further. And finally, Step 4, that next gen steps up, learns the hard lessons, and becomes the new managers themselves. Ultimately, every single manager was once an executive grinding away, and every executive working hard today could totally be a manager tomorrow. You are currently part of this ongoing story, moving through these phases right now, learning exactly how that invisible background work actually shapes success.
Ultimately, growth in any single industry only continues because someone, somewhere, makes the conscious choice to lift the standard higher. So when the time comes to raise the bar, will you be ready to pass the torch? The next person to lift that bar might literally be you. Someday, you are going to be the one sitting on the other side of that desk, dealing with all that invisible workload, pushing a young professional out of their comfort zone and, yes, maybe drinking a nice cup of coffee while you do it. I challenge you to look at your daily tasks not as pressure, but as preparation for that exact future leadership role. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep pushing those boundaries, keep learning, and I'll see you next time.